Uh, Hello to everyone. This is Shamim Anwer. We'll be talking about the geography test series we are going to conduct in Keynote IAS in association with Flavido. And a bit of information I would like to share with you guys, that how to write an answer, and basically with how the geography students should deal the questions in the examination hall. If you look at the trend of the questions, they are more subjective in nature. And if you want to write an answer and fetch higher marks as per your potential, then you should always be interested in telling the examiner through your writing that yes, you deserve to get good marks as an IAS officer, not as an expert of geography. Very often you must have heard that they are not searching for experts of the subject. Had it been so, they would have made it at least compulsory that you must have certain background in the subject. But here it is very clear that irrespective of your background, you can choose an optional. And that's the fundamental direction given to you about what is the requirement for a would-be IAS officer writings. Right. So when you look at the answers, you must learn how to integrate ideas apart from the content you are putting it into the answer paper. Right. So whenever we make a question, we make it sure that it should be at par with the UPSC pattern, especially the change pattern after 2008, where the nature of the question is so mixed up that maybe sometimes you may have 2-3 topics integrated and woven in one, and the questions will be framed where your subjective ability and your ability to think beyond the books are tested. Right. So in the introductory part, primarily you should try to be creative as possible. For example, let's say if you are writing a question on settlement, so the content part will be generally from the books, and you would be writing it, and so everybody of your competitor would be writing it. So how to be different in that, we try to suggest in each and every topic in the test series. When you look at, let's have an aerial survey of a settlement, and you just are allowed to see the houses, the streets, the roads, the land utility and the land utilization, maybe some special features of that area, let's say temple, mosques, gurudwaras or churches. Can't you write an essay about it? So any topic on settlement, when you are writing, the content will be from the books, but this feeling you must incorporate in your answer in the introductory lines. For example, if you are writing in a very small subject like temperature, discuss the temperature and pressure belts on the surface of the earth. And if you are giving the content, even with the fullest of the content, you will not get more marks than 50%. But whenever you give extra feeling, like let's say temperature, the effect of temperature on socio-economic activities of humans, effect of temperature on your lifestyle, effect of temperature on culture, like so much so that even your dressing pattern, the dance style is affected by temperature. Temperature is one of the most vital element or fundamental climatic element influencing humans in varied ways. So like for example, the crop selection, the types of forest, right? Even the area will be a desert or with a good amount of rainfall, or the area will be having a equatorial rainforest or coniferous forest. Even the dressing pattern where we will wear a half t-shirt or a sweater is determined by temperature. So that feeling must be incorporated in the introductory lines. When you write conclusion, the global warming is a must term to be used while writing on the answer on temperature. If, for example, if you're writing earthquakes, so why should you learn earthquake? That feeling should be given it. You can easily understand the requirement. Why is it so? Why I'm suggesting that you should be writing things beyond the books. It is primarily because once you become an IAS officer, and that is what you are supposed to do. Let's say, for example, if you are a person coming from Tamil Nadu and posted somewhere in North Indian states, in a district where you may not have any information about the physiography, about the cultural aspects, about the problems of that area. Once you are posted in that area, your subordinates will be giving you all the required information to work with and to work upon for the betterment of the society. So all the information, facts, figures, data will be provided to you by your subordinates in the very first meeting. And whenever you require, they will be supplying you that data. They'll be giving you, for example, let's say suppose this area, sir, is culturally this much, area is inhabited by more tribals, this area is communally sensitive, this area is caste sensitive, this area is facing a lot of problems regarding eve teasing and all. So that information is the content of the answer. That information with respect to the topic you will be collecting from the books. But your work starts beyond that once you are in the office. So examiner would be more interested in searching your ability to use that information, and so that your administrative capability is reflected through your writings. And obviously only then you will be getting marks of your as a would-be IAS officer. Maybe for as a geography experts, 7 out of 10 is easy by giving a lot of information. But to score 6, 7 out of 10 marks in a subject when you are writing civil services, you have to be creative and different, where your administrative capability is reflected through your writing. Let's say, for example, I'm talking about geomorphology. So, when you read geomorphology, first you should think that what is the impact of geomorphology, that is a study of landforms on, let's say suppose the physiographic aspect on resource endowment. Have you really understood the fact that a resource is directly related with the landforms? A mountainous region will have different types of resources, a plain area will have different types of resources, a plateau will have different type of resources, and that resources determines the economic activities. Why do we have most of the industries lying in our Chota Nagpur plateau? Why northern plain is more famous for agricultural activities? So even the economy, larger pattern of the economic activities are determined, governed, dictated by the landforms. So when you are writing that, that must be reflected. And look at how economic activities, especially the sectoral dominance, in the GDP of its area of a region. For example, if an area is deriving majority of its percentage of GDP from agriculture, a society will be different. So here, if suppose the geography is determining agricultural dominance, then the area would be socially conservative. The area would be inward looking, people living with inward looking style. Right. So that aspect, when you are writing about it, must be reflected in your answer. The geomorphology determines the disaster proneness of an area, and any disaster prone area will always be producing less entrepreneurship. Right, because disaster prone areas increases the sense of insecurity among the mind of the people, and that is how the attitude foundation of the society is generated or made, affected. So that is where you need to be very cautious while writing an answer, which reflects your administrative capability rather than the representative of a particular subject. This can be implemented in almost all the areas which books will never suggest you. For example, let's say suppose a question is asked. If you see general studies paper also, you will have several such questions where, like, green revolution states have poor sex ratio. Why the tribals have better sex ratio as compared to the scheduled castes? So similar questions are asked in optional paper also. Right. You may have a question like, discuss the socio-economic parity between the green revolution states of our country with that of West Asia. You may have a question like, why eastern states in our country are far more underdeveloped as compared to their western counterparts. So this to have a geographical feeling and to give the geographical reasons, you will have to understand the effect of geomorphology, the effect of climatology over the human activities, the effect of coastal living, the effect of the locational aspect. That's what geography all about, the spatial analysis. And in that you are supposed to give the information which not many of your competitors would be competent enough to write those answers. Whenever you write an introduction, that introductory part should be yours, purely yours. And when you write a conclusion, that again should be yours. The content part doesn't vary much with respect to your competitors. And you can have edge while writing a different introduction and different conclusion. That's the fundamental of an answer writing, which can be planned, implemented in each and every areas. There are some people who suggest otherwise as well. That I have some friends who suggest that the introduction is not required in a 250-word answer or a 150-word answer. But if you look at the nature of the question, it is a kind of gift. Whether you want to wrap it or you want to gift it someone in open way. Let's say suppose if a question is asked like, what are the limitations of continental drift theory? You are not supposed to write an introduction into it. Just write, following are the limitations of continental drift theory. But if the nature of question itself is very subjective in nature, you can't afford not to give an introduction. For example, the plate tectonic theory is a unified theory presented and has revolutionized geography, discuss. So you are supposed to write, yes, plate tectonic theory is heart and soul of geomorphology. And in fact, the fundamental basis for the study of landforms. Not a single landform is untouched and not scientifically explained by the theory of plate tectonics. So that feeling, a unifying aspect, how it has incorporated various theories of geomorphology into one. You have to write that. And what do you expect in the future with respect to plate tectonic? You have to write again in the concluding remarks. In the conclusion, you are always supposed to be very optimistic while ending the answer, howsoever pathetic question you have chosen to write over. Right, that's what we'll always emphasize upon, and that's what I would be looking at in the answer of these students, because content part can easily be studied, but the introductory lines and this concluding remarks makes your answer different from others, and that will determine how much marks you are going to get. We are starting the test series on 8th of this month. The syllabus is very much there on the website, and you can try it, go through the topics. I have tried my best to club all the topics from paper 1 and paper 2 of similar nature, which requires the study in one go. So a combined 8 tests are there, and in that 8 tests will be dealing with more than 250 questions. And though number of questions I don't think matters, it is only the thought process. Your thought process may be reflected within 2 or 3 tests itself. And in the first test itself, it will be very much reflected in your own style of writing, how you are going to improve into it, and what are the needed aspects which can be improved, which can be suggested. I myself check the copy and have a one-to-one interaction whenever it is needed with the students. So hopefully it is going to benefit you all. Thank you and take care.